going, what's wrong with you four? You're the only 4 people in the world that haven't watched this damn show yet. Welcome to OnEducation, part of the On Podcast Media Network. My name is Mike Washman.
And I'm Glenn Irvin. Friends, we have an awesome pod for you today. It's an OnEducation Team Roundtable. We're going to reflect on lessons learned during distance learning, share tips on avoiding burnout when working from home, and we will discuss why some students are staying logged out during online learning.
So this is exciting. It took social distancing to bring us all together, but here we are, friends. So we have Melissa Pilikowski and Dave Blanchard with us.
Hey, everyone.
We're all...
How's it going?
This is exciting. This is very exciting. We're going to chat. We decided to just have a conversation, see how everyone's doing, do a check-in, so to speak, make sure everyone's healthy and staying alive in this crazy time. And, just hang out. I thought it'd be a good way to spend a Monday night. So, hey, listen, I don't know about anyone else out there, but I'm still playing games a little bit. And I actually introduced Glenn to a game last night called I am like so into this game called Satisfactory. It is a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole like some of these other games I get into, like how I was playing Oxygen Not Included for
was just going to ask you how it rated against Oxygen Not Included. So right up there.
It's different, but it's got those same mechanics that lock you in. But it's I don't know. How would you describe it, Glenn? What's Satisfactory?
It's kind of like a SimCity type of game, I would say, because you collect, in this case, elements and fuel and some other types of environmental things, and then you end up creating machines that then are pulling the ore from different areas, and then you're building other machines from those machines and kind of interconnecting all of these factory types of things,
with
conveyor belts and electrical power. What's really cool about it, though, is that it's really pretty. The game itself is the world itself is really just amazing, and it's like a day-night cycle. It's very, very pretty. I was blown away by that part, just looking around the environment. So the gameplay is interesting, and I just I played it for about an hour with Mike. So we'll see how it actually ends up going for us. But I think it has got a lot of potential, and it's only in the in beta mode, Mike. It's not really
it's still
even
in early access.
It's not even fully developed yet, though it felt like a full-fledged out game.
Yeah, it's super polished. Are you playing anything else, Glenn? What have you been up to?
I play Hearthstone every
You're
day.
Hearthstone. You're still Hearthstoning. So wait, they changed all the rules though, right?
Yes.
About leveling up?
Yes. So they changed the entire ranking system, and
are you happy about this?
I did amazing the first 2 days, as I posted a picture on Twitter, and I was basically so close to the top status in Hearthstone, which is called legendary status. I was actually 1 game away.
Oh boy!
And now I'm not.
And then it all came crashing down.
It's a very punishing game. Let's just call it like that. So once you start on a losing streak, it's not good. Yeah, it's not good for my sanity either, so it's all right. That's why it's good to play a game like this, Satisfactory, where you're just you're able to play for fun and not super hyper competitive. So what do you guys what are you two doing during these times of having to spend all this time at home? Anything entertaining?
Oh, I am on Clash Royale like I usually am. I'm really I'm disappointed though in my clan, because I'm in a clan with literally all of my junior, senior boys. And in the past few days, they've all stopped. And I'm just I can't do all of this by myself. So I'm left with that dilemma of, Do I stay with them? Do I abandon?
Peace out on your Clash clan.
What?
Do you even Clash, bro? It's so funny.
But yeah, I was kind of like the star teacher there for a while because in our whole clan, I'm like usually in the top 3 to 5. Right now, I'm number 1 because no one else is keeping up with me and
showing those kids up.
I had quite a reputation in the high school, let me tell you. And now I'm like, I think they have all moved on to another game, and I'm the diehard.
It's a commitment. Yep.
Oh boy, Dave, what are you playing?
No, so I brushed off my Steam account. I had to do the force a password reset, and I got it downloaded, and I made my purchase on the Humble Bundle. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm ready to get going, but I enjoy sleeping between midnight and 5 a.m. So
you have this one game.
That's been my last couple of days.
Sleep. That's a very smart game to play. Actually, we're going to talk about burnout and stuff, and how that might be part of the entire thing. Is
sleep
making
is
sure
the best
that we actually
game.
get sleep.
Sleep has young kids. No, but that's a game that
I do.
We could all relate to.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at sleep. I'm that's the game I'm very, very bad at. Oh
you
boy.
fail.
But hey, speaking of, I actually have some plugs to make. I actually just have one plug to make, but we're all I think we're all going to participate in this. See what I did there? The Gone Home game study starts this week. By the time this podcast comes out, you should still have time, hopefully, to go and get yourself Gone Home. It's free on the Epic Game Store. The game is called Gone Home, and we are going to live stream a kind of a weekly chat about the game, like a book study, but a game study. And on the weekly chat, it's going to be myself and Steve Isaacs and Paul Darvasi and John Spike, which is going to be awesome. And then anyone who's watching can chime in on the chat and talk and communicate. But then there's also a whole discussion thread on the Participate game-based learning community that's brand new that we just rolled out for people to weigh in there, talk about things. And I think Paul is going to tee us up for the first episode with a post on the discussion. So you head over there to the discussion to read that and get caught up, get the game, make sure you get it downloaded, and get ready to play and talk about Gone Home and how it's used in the classroom, how it relates to things like social emotional learning, which is its kind of wheelhouse. I'm super pumped about this, and I think I even Mark Otter, the CEO of Participate, he was telling me today, he's like, dude, I got it installed. I went and bought it. I'm ready to go. He's so psyched. So really excited about Gone Home. Hey, does anyone watch? You haven't played it, and you know what?
So I will be excited to just play it through. I mean, I've listened to Paul speak at conferences and on the podcast about that game specifically, and I've read his materials on it, but I've never actually played. So it should be interesting to just play it and then have those discussions.
So I've never played it either. So I'm going to be like the guinea pig in the stream. So during the stream, I'm going to be playing it, and you'll see my screen primarily because I've never played it before. Steve has played it a little bit, and then John and Paul have both used it in teaching. So they're like experts at this. So we have like 2 experts, and then Steve who's played it a bit, and then myself who hasn't played it at all. We're really excited. That kind of dynamic is also kind of interesting in this as well. There's lots of, you know what? I was talking to Cheryl about this the other day about TV. What happens to TV in like 8 months? What
do you mean?
Oh,
well, because no one is making TV right now.
I read something just today that said, and I don't remember where it was, but they said in about 7 or 8 months there will be nothing new out. Like for a while they'll keep putting new stuff out, but there's going to be nothing come this fall that's new.
It's going to run dry eventually.
You just start.
It's going to be all reruns.
I mean, you know how many shows are on Netflix right now? that
That's what
people
my wife said
that I haven't watched. It's like, let's start checking them all out.
Okay, what about
that's what's good about
what about Tiger King? Has anybody indulged?
I haven't seen that.
No.
Everybody's been talking about it. Is it on Netflix?
I don't know.
Did you watch it,
I
Melissa?
did not, but it's like, yeah, everyone.
So none of us have watched
even my
it.
stepdad has
Everyone's
watched it.
yelling at us right now. That's
Really?
Going, what's wrong with you?
We need
You're
to
the
watch
only
this
4
thing.
people in the world that haven't watched this damn show yet.
Yeah, I don't even know what it's about, but I know everybody's talking about it.
It's about tigers
Yeah.
and Carol Baskin. That's what I've gathered so far.
And
Okay.
a dude who's like a complete psychopath.
I like those kind of shows.
The Tiger King.
Okay.
Apparently.
We should just have a watch party. There we go.
Oh my god. We'll put that on the Participate live stream.
Is that legal? Probably not.
It is illegal. Remember, we got shut down for doing
YouTube shut us down
streaming
last
the
time we
election.
streamed the election.
Yeah, remember that, Dave?
The Super Tuesday.
That didn't last too long on YouTube before that got pulled.
Yes, it's illegal. For the record.
Yeah.
Someone wrote in here, Picard finished season 1. I'll admit, I'm a very bad Trekkie. I dropped off on it.
What?
I didn't finish watching it.
That's weird. You
So
watched that other show, though. The
I
other...
love Discovery is great.
Oh, that's bad, dude. You
So
can't even,
was it
you can't
good?
even call
So
yourself a
without
Trekkie. Then.
spoiling it, was Picard good?
It is... Yes. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
So, that's pretty good.
But did you like Discovery?
No. It was horrible.
See, I knew there was
I'm
a
like
reason I
4
didn't like
episodes. I went 4 episodes of really trying to watch it, and I'm like, I can't take this.
Oh man,
It's too different. It's too different than what I'm used to, as far as Star Trek is concerned.
So, but Picard's not different?
It is very much in line with Star Trek series.
Interesting.
Yes.
So the first season's bad, because every first season of Star Trek is bad. That's very much in line too.
No, it's actually pretty good. It's 8. I'd say, like I said, it's 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised, and there were some things that they did that I was like, I wouldn't have done those things, but I could see that. But then the fun and funny part is that I wasn't expecting it to be adult centered. You know, if you ever watched The Next Generation, or even back further when I was a kid, when we were watching
PG.
the old Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's cheesy and kind of playful and whatever
kitschy.
it might be. And this is there were some parts where, I mean...
there's full out swearing in it too, right?
It was fantastic. I loved it. I loved that addition to it, because then it was like, oh, this actually fits with this sci-fi theme. Yeah. So anyway, I would recommend watching it, and I have no idea how you'd stop watching it, Mike, but yeah.
Yeah,
weird.
I'm a traitor, eh? Who are you? I thought I knew you.
Yeah.
Are either of you two Trekkies?
Yeah.
A little bit, but I have not. I kind of stopped after Deep Space Nine, and granted, I was probably like
love Deep
12
Space
or
Nine.
13 then, and I only watched it because my dad did. But after that, I never really got on board with the movies. I was always just more of the late night TV watcher.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, exact same thing for me. Deep Space Nine, loved it. Absolutely one of those, like...
Deep Space Nine is amazing.
Yeah.
So underrated.
And after that, it started moving on to other things. But I go right back to the
You started
days
getting
of
a life.
Picard,
That's what
going
Dave is
back
saying.
even farther than that.
He doesn't play games and he doesn't watch Star Trek. How did you
Did you have a childhood?
No, I was just going to say, you're friends with us and you're like the outcast.
Yeah, I did. I did have a childhood. It was a good one.
We fill them in on all of these.
We found that we've identified the black sheep.
We fill them in on all of this,
absolutely.
like super nerd talk.
That is so funny. Hey, Glenn, there's good news about your student loans, I hear.
Yeah, actually, we had a good discussion with Dave, kind of going back and forth as far as when I posted this. As I went to go pay my bill, as I was paying my bills, I went onto Fed Loan, which is the caretaker of my ginormous loan. It's consolidated all into one place in Fed Loans. And anyway, when I logged in, there was a message, of course, like most of the websites now have some kind of something about COVID-19, et cetera, et cetera. But as I was reading that, I was like, no way. And basically what it said is that my loan had automatically been placed on forbearance until September. And I could pay on it if I wanted to, but I would have to make manual payments. So it was kind of the opposite of what you would think. Filing for the forbearance, it was like automatically that happened. And then if you wanted to pay towards it, you could set up basically a manual payment. But it was with 0% interest until September, which I was like, sounds good. Now, for a lot of us that are on the public service loan forgiveness program, and I think I put that in the wrong order. Public service, yeah, something like that. Forgiveness program, which is a 10 years of on-time payments. You know, that obviously wouldn't count from right now, April through September. But as I read closer, and this is the part that I posted. Did you see that, Dave? These forbearance times, which is basically forgiven, you know, like I don't have to make these payments, these 6 payments, let's call them, count towards 6 more on-time payments, which I don't even know how they can do that, but I don't really care.
Or they roll your payment forward 6 more.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, as you read the you know, I went through it and I was like, I don't know if this is actually correct, but I've confirmed it with a few other people who said the exact same thing. Basically, it says that it counts as payments because of the gravitude of the situation or whatever it might be. I have no idea how it counts with it. I was like,
well, I say take that as an amazing gift. Holy cow.
Yeah, big time.
So now what are you going to do with the money? You know, I advised you not to go waste it, but since you're on that forgiveness program, I
did have I did have a large order in Amazon. Those cases that you can get at Costco, you know, where there's like piles of Skittles of every kind of flavor. That's what I have my eye.
Glenn's grass eating.
I have my eye on that right now. Haven't made the
pull
purchase
that trigger,
just yet,
buddy. Pull that trigger.
But I'm thinking about it. No, but it's interesting that happened, and a lot of people obviously, you know, are in situations where this is a humongous help, humongous burden lifted off their shoulders, at least for temporarily, to be able to not have to go and pay those. So I thought it was like I said, like hitting the lottery.
It's a 6-month adjustment.
Yeah,
6 months. So in 6 months, people are going to need to reverse bad habits again.
I know,
because people will start
because you're already misspending that money. Yeah, you're already
making it rain.
And those people
inside,
that
just on Amazon, I guess. I mean,
right
it's not like you can go outside to a bar and party, right?
Right.
It's just, you know, you're just going to be at home binge shopping on Amazon.
I'm going to order some more groceries that are going to be delivered.
Oh, it's a spatula with the shape of a frog. I need that.
A lot of online ordering is going to happen. Right. Yeah.
It's a garbage can that makes a clown noise when it opens. That's got to be mine.
That would be super creepy. I hate clowns.
Oh boy! Someone else told me that the money that they had saved from going out to restaurants and bars, you know, was being consumed by their significant other. Going crazy on Amazon. So, you know, you were saving money on one end and losing it on the other. So it's a net loss probably in the end.
Have you guys found, Dave and Melissa, that you guys have, like Nicole and I, my wife and I have, you know, at least been looking at the delivery catalog, basically I want to call it, of all of the different restaurants, you know, in our area, Dave. But we haven't, like, we don't usually do that anyway. And we are kind of like, we don't know if we're going to, but we're like, oh, that's pretty cool that you can do that, you know, as far as order from all of the different restaurants. I know that Mike you do that kind of stuff. You did that kind of stuff beforehand.
Yeah.
But do you guys do that? Like where you order food from the restaurants, like Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever the local restaurants may be, and then have them delivered? Are you doing that now?
Yeah, we haven't done the delivery piece. And some of that is because my wife, she's still working. She is essential and she has to. So if we want to pick something up, she'll grab it. But the other piece is it just really hasn't come up for us as a good opportunity. It does make me wonder about, all the restaurants that don't do takeout or that don't do delivery that now they have. And what's that going to look like post COVID-19? And will they continue to do that because they found, hey, we can charge even a little bit more. Like I know one of the best places to get steak here in Minnesota charges $3 more as a takeout than they do.
I saw that.
If you sit down. And I'm like, gosh, why is that? But it's, convenience and it's a different time, whatever. But is that going to continue? That'll be an interesting thing to watch.
How about you, Melissa, over there in Valentine, Nebraska?
Well, most of the restaurants around here have closed. I mean, we still have a few fast food places, and our local steakhouse did some takeout, and I think they're going to stop for a while. So we have not done a lot of that, except for my son, who did order Pizza Hut today. He's 14 and apparently needed a pizza, which now none of us are allowed to eat but him. So be it. But, I hope that we can support those small restaurants, especially the non-chain ones, your family-owned restaurants during this time. And we certainly, even though we hadn't done any takeout from the steakhouse yet, we had every intention to at some point, just because we know the owners. I went to college with him, and we want to support them during this time so that way when they open up after COVID is all over, they still have a healthy business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm conflicted about, we were conflicted about, the health risks of getting takeout and, or even delivery and, how logistically all of that works. But, I think for me personally, I think I'm with Melissa on the idea of especially buying from the local. Like, so we've ordered pizza once since like the lockdown-ish phase where we're at. And we ordered it from kind of a local pizza place as opposed to a chain pizza place. They don't have multiple locations. It's just the one spot. And we wanted, and it's really good pizza. Like it wasn't like we wanted to support that one place, that wasn't like a corporation or owned by a bigger corporation. I mean, there's one giant corporation in Ontario that owns like at least 4 or 5 of the restaurant chains that are major in Canada. And it's like, I mean, yeah, I can imagine that there's some things going on there, that are, it's tough times all around, right? But this is one small business, and this family that owns this one small business, this is everything to them. And if it's gone, everything is gone. And, so we, and I feel for like the delivery drivers and like, oh man, it's tough for everybody, and it's scary. If you're like, I feel so incredibly lucky that, my wife is a teacher and can continue to teach and get paid. And my job is secure as well. I work for an education company and an online learning platform. I mean, we're busy, and so I feel for folks in professions. And when you start to think through like different professions and how they're completely like the complexities of their job have like increased exponentially. Like I was thinking about the garbage collectors the other day, and it's like they're out there grabbing other people's garbage from all of these other houses that are, like that would be scary as hell to me right now. Like but it has to be done. Someone has to do it, and it's their job. But it's like terrifying to think that you could get sick because you went and like, you know, picked up someone else's trash. There's so many things, like these folks that are working in the grocery stores and stuff, obviously. And it's funny, in Ontario, I don't know if they're doing this other places, but they closed, I'm under the impression they've closed down the Walmarts in Ontario.
Wow.
Because you can get groceries at, like, we have like big, regular, normal kind of grocery stores. But the thing with the Walmarts is that it looked like people were going there to kind of like hang out, to get out, you know, out of the house and walk around a store like it was normal. And it's like, no, get what you need and get the hell out of here. And, you know, right? But that's the way it's supposed to be. And it wasn't happening. So I guess they've closed the Barrie Walmart. We have 2 of them, and I assume they've closed both of them. But it's like the complexities of so many of these different people's careers and jobs and how they've changed because of this is, I mean, we're living through a weird time, friends. It's something, you know, we're never gonna forget. That's for sure. How's everyone doing with school stuff? You know, it's funny. All of us, like, not me, but you 3 are all completely different situations. I can also relay about, you know, my wife. My wife teaches kindergarten, which is not conducive to online learning.
So how does she do it? Like, talk us through what is her day like, and how does she do online and offline and all of that?
Yeah, it's tough. So the whole province of Ontario has a contract with D2L to use what they call Brightspace. So everyone is being encouraged to use Brightspace because that is, you know, what, you know, so they can still use Google. My son's teacher is still using Google Classroom in spite of having access to Brightspace. But she's been using Google Classroom the whole school year prior to now. So Cheryl set up a Brightspace class page. She obviously realizes that when she's typing things, she's actually talking to the parents. So I think that that's probably the first thing that, you know, when you're a kindergarten teacher, you had to recognize that you're actually communicating more with the parents than the kids in some cases, right? So giving instructions to the parents on how to help their kids, you know, respond to her. So, but the responses that she's asking for are in the form of like voice messages or video, like using Flipgrid. Shout out to Joe Merrill, who spent 45 minutes with Cheryl in a Zoom call earlier this week. So classy. Kristen was like, okay, I got you. I'll make sure that the boys are occupied and out of Joe's hair so Joe can spend 30 to 45 minutes with Cheryl, and Cheryl and Joe on a Zoom call going over Flipgrid and Brightspace together. It was so great of him. Classy dude. Shout out to Joe Merrill.
Did they do any here? It's a lot of the elementary schools are basically, there's instructions on whatever the learning management system is, but then there's these packets of work that we're picking up every few weeks. Is that the same thing? Or no?
So, I mean, no. No one's picking up anything in Ontario anyways. It's all being delivered online.
Okay.
And I know that, you know, as far as I know, we've at the district level, at the Peel School Board level, they handled, you know, the issues with devices and connectivity even. I think we talked about last week how I appreciated that part of the messaging that the Peel School Board has given out is that, you know, if you have internet problems, you need to let us know that too. We want to help you solve those problems too, because those are problems, you know, for some people who can't afford like a internet package that supports, you know, 3 kids and 2 parents all working from home. You know, internet just falls apart in that case if you don't have a decent plan. So she's doing a lot of like, go say hi, tell me what you did today. Here, I have a little challenge for you. And yeah, so that's, I guess we'll see how that goes. Everyone's kind of flying blind, right? So we'll see how that goes. How's it with you, Mel?
For me personally, it's really been smooth academically wise, just because this is how I've taught, except that the kids have been in the classroom. So at this stage, they're so used to going to the daily agenda on the Google Doc, and they're so used to the different programs that we use that it's not a huge jump for them. And full disclosure, I have juniors and seniors, so they're pretty adaptable. I've been really impressed with the rest of my staff, though. I mean, for some of them who have really been, I don't want to say resistant to technology, but just never utilized it much. And, they've were pushed into the water, and a lot of them are doing a great job, not just using the technology, but also using some choice boards and trying some different approaches that I haven't been seeing before. So nice. That's something that I've just really been impressed with some of my colleagues. I think the hardest part for us here in this area, or at least for our high school, is what do we do about graduation? Because we graduate early, about May 16th. That's not going to happen.
6 weeks from now.
Well, I mean, Nebraska starts about August 10th to 15th, so then we finish up mid-May, and we've tried to propose different things to the seniors. Like maybe we do a parade through town and every senior has a float, still recognizing social distancing. And some of the seniors are on board with that. And some of the seniors totally understandably have their dreams of what their graduation should look like. Yeah. And, it's hard to come to terms with that. And then you have a lot of kids and parents and teachers who think, well, as of May 16th, we should just get them their diplomas, put some closure to it. And then you have another group who, well, let's just hold out till July and see if we can hold something there. I don't know what we'll do.
It's difficult. Yeah. What about you, Dave? With the college setting, I bet it's crazy.
Higher ed is, kind of one of those unique pieces. The system that I work for in the institution specifically, we're Brightspace. So it's neat to see, that being used in good old Canada as well for those elementary students. It's a different version.
It's a Canadian company, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I've never actually met someone in the elementary setting who uses the elementary LMS.
Cool.
Everybody sees the college level LMS and they're like, why would you ever use that? But that's what I live and breathe. And in graduate studies, it's something where when I work with my graduate students, we're mostly synchronous online. So that's the way I kind of went into this career transition, was graduates. And so for me, transitioning into undergraduate this year, it really wasn't a hard shift for me. And as we were kind of rotating into this response to COVID-19, it's a bigger shift for students. It's a shift for how people are using that learning management system to engage. And the interesting thing is we were on spring break, and midway through spring break, I got a frantic text. Frantic is a wrong word, but a pretty passionate text of, hey, I need to have conversations with you all. And it was my phone number and 3 other unknown phone numbers. And I'm pulling you all in to support other faculty within our school to be able to flip their courses. And it's surprising how in a traditional institution, people have traditional ways of delivering instruction. And that instruction might not be traditional. We're doing a really good job at keeping up with the modern pieces, but it's a face-to-face campus. So those instructors needed a good amount of support to get their courses flipped, and it needed to be done with social distancing. which teaching someone how to use an online platform, both video conferencing and a learning management system, and tools like Flipgrid and the OneDrive collaborativity suites and all those aspects.
So weeks worth of face-to-face PD right there, boy.
Right.
Wow.
It's months. That's my life.
So it was a interesting piece, and definitely something I was happy to do, because I knew, given the couple hours at night, I'd be able to get my stuff prepped and flipped, but other people needed that support, and I got to work with an amazing team to do that. Yeah. And by us taking that role, we were able to shift the academic technology team, who it's their actual job to do that, to go to other parts of our campus, because other departments and other schools don't have people that know K-12 technology well. And the piece that I was most impressed with, and Melissa, you kind of shared it too, is our staff was so engaged and so open to, I have this type of thing that I normally do. What are your ideas to help me do it online? And if this wouldn't have been the scenario around really integrating Flipgrid in a higher ed setting really well, it'd be like pulling teeth to get people to use it. But because this does such an efficient way of having this asynchronous communication and dialogue and all these different pieces, regardless of the tool, people were more engaged to at least be open and try and know that everyone is stumbling at the same time, including the students. And it's been neat. We also have that connectivity and that device access issue a little bit more than I was anticipating. I still have students. Now we're 3 weeks into this transition for faculty, and I have students who are still without devices or still without internet access. And they are commuting from different parts of campus or different parts of the state onto campus, or they were living at home where they don't have adequate internet. And I can relate to that. I live out in the country where I have great DSL with terrible, awful speeds. But that's the way it is. And it's a challenge for those types of learners. So we need to think about, as we're developing these awesome e-teaching experiences, these remote learning in response to a pandemic experience, how we can do that in like concise pieces.
Yeah.
And in higher ed, being concise is sometimes challenging.
I bet.
Because profs want these elaborate something or other, or they think because it's online, it's easy. And burnout for students, I see happening already, and we're a week and a half in for students now.
It's a good transition.
How's everyone coming around to teaching online with you, Glenn?
You know, when I was coming into this, and we had actually 2 weeks to prepare for distance learning, which was a great idea by the governor. I thought 2 weeks we're going to be freaking rolling on all, we're going to be full-fledged ahead. And this first week, because of technology was part of it, the ed tech component of it, like basically put a damper on our progress, and really we got a bad false start to the distance learning this past week. And I think it had nothing to do with, like Dave just described, that the teachers were ready to go ahead and go. But when your technology actually doesn't work, so our learning management system doesn't work, in this case, Schoology was down the majority of the time. And when that happens, that's chaos. I mean, especially when you depend upon that as the hub of what you're going to be doing. And then it was everything that was then connected to that. So then all of the other services beyond that, whatever you were trying to go ahead and do as far as the different other tools, the ed puzzles, the whatever else it might be that you were integrating with Schoology. So first week of distance learning, as far as what I have learned, is that what Dave described is less is better. Less is more. It's great for the kids, actually, and I see it with my own kids who are in a different district than the one that I work in, the neighboring district. But I just think that teachers need to realize that it's okay to pull back from the amount of content that you thought that you would have normally been able to present. And by pulling back, I mean really pull back. And then we don't know all of the different situations that are occurring out there, and not everybody has not only access and great Wi-Fi and devices, but then talk about all the other things that are that we don't know about as far as at home. What is their home situation like in general? And all of the things that people were thinking of as far as like, what about food and what about all of those things? Those are some of the layers, that we knew kind of coming into this that we needed to address. But we know there's all of these deeper layers. When people have to stay at home, that can be wonderful for many of us. But for many of us, that's not a good thing. As far as that actually puts a lot of pressure on the family unit that's not used to being, in some cases, a small space together. And that's some of our kids are experiencing those things. So school is kind of like the last thing on their mind, though we want to give them the opportunity to go ahead and continue to learn and interact and engage and communicate with their peers and obviously their teachers. But as far as the work and, I've heard a lot of people talking about the word holding kids accountable. I think that's garbage. You could throw that off to the side. This is not a time to hold anybody accountable for anything.
I was going to say, sounds like a power trip to me.
No, but that's a very much like, I think that people hold on to that though, because it's something that they can control. So they can control attendance. They can control their grades. They can control a due date, and I'm talking about educators. But this is a time where you have to let all that stuff kind of go with the flow and really make adjustments to fit the kids' situation. So that's basically the first week of distance learning. What I have learned is that there's still a lot of lessons to be learned. And it's not just the technology or the access or all of the things that we had the foresight to kind of think ahead, but it's much more complex than that.
For those of us that are keeping a good pulse on Twitter, we can see the continuum of those districts saying, teachers, take what you have, cut it in half again, and then expect some of that to be done, all the way to the other side of the continuum of secondary students, you're keeping the exact same schedule, which I can see a little bit, but elementary students, you're also staying online for this massive amount of time. It's mind blowing to me. There's an assistant principal. He's a high school principal assistant here in Minnesota, Sean Peck, who had tweeted this on the 3rd. So that was Friday, I believe. And he said, have you ever taken an online class? How about 6 at once when you were a teenager with spotty Wi-Fi and Schoology crashing and needing to share a device with siblings while trapped at home, filled with fear and anxiety?
That's a great post.
Yeah, me neither. Let's cut these kids some slack. And within 2 days, he was at 26,500 likes and 5.1 thousand retweets. And I shared that with my students. And then, so we pulled up the tweet today, and that same tweet doubled in the number of retweets. So he's over 50,000 retweets and doubled, or over 9,000 retweets and over 50,000 likes. And this educator
like a big
has
name or
now
something
just
like
over 1,000 followers. So it's not like this massive name. It's not these edu celebrities. Like, this is an AP who started Twitter in 2011 and probably hit that, 2011, everybody got accounts. And then they put him on the shelf for a while and he started tweeting again. And it's just so crazy to see, without hashtags, without a tag of somebody that's edu celebrity, this core idea resonated with that many people, where in one day,
and it's such a great
doubled its impact.
It's a crazy time. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, a New York Times article came out just today talking about a lot of the same things that we have been talking about here and over the last couple of weeks. We're going to reflect on the article a little bit, so stay with us.
OnEducation is brought to you by GoGuardian. GoGuardian helps thousands of K-12 school districts maximize the learning potential of every student by providing solutions that help enable productive and safe digital learning. GoGuardian's products help educators identify learning patterns, protect students from harmful and distracting content, and support mental health. To support schools during their remote learning transition, GoGuardian is offering free access to their entire product suite until the end of the school year. To learn more about GoGuardian and download free resources about remote learning, visit goguardian.com.
All right, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. A New York Times article came out today on Monday the 6th that probably isn't a shock to the four of us here and most of the folks listening, even though it is a little bit scary to see it written down in words in kind of the paper of record, for lack of better words. I was reading this article, and I've read it a few times now, and they're definitely saying some things that Glenn and I have said on the podcast over the last couple weeks. But to lead with this quick discussion about this article, we're going to link it in the show notes, by the way, is my overwhelming question about this school year is, should we be concerned about the quality of learning that our students are getting, and whether are kids going to need to repeat years? Should they, even if we're there's a lack of inclination to fail any kid, and and all that stuff. Like, there's even policy in most school districts that children can't fail a grade or whatever. But we're living in really strange times, and we will have students who weren't in a classroom for 4 months. And I guess, the overwhelming comment in this article is more of a question, but they're just wondering how concerned we should be about whether students are going to need to repeat a grade or start early next year or anything like that. Do we share any of those concerns, or do you think we're going to come out of this okay, or better even? Those are kind of the options. What do you think? Let's start with Dave.
I see this article, and there's a big movement right now around how state testing is not being done, and it's been wavered. So why do we need to stay on track in that test prep mentality, which I've never agreed with test prep mentality, but I have agreed with, the academic standards in the states which we work are what we need to stick to. And this test is supposed to be developed with that in mind. So even if we don't have a test and we're preparing our students during this time to meet the standards and we're keeping them intellectually stimulated, are we going to be completely screwing them up, for lack of better, by saying, nope, and now you need to repeat 6 months? Or nope, we're going to shove in 4 months of school into a 2-month and then screw up the next year. I don't see a big, easy button around any of it, other than accept that school is going to be really challenging for everybody in, that kindergarten to 11th grade window for the next couple of years.
I like
both
that
teachers,
perspective.
students, families, communities, everybody.
Saying it's not just about the progress made from 3rd to 4th grade or between pre-algebra to algebra or whatever the hell you want to go ahead and measure year-to-year progress of a kid, on a scale of standards, learning, whatever else it might be. Who cares about any of that right now? Come fall, we don't even know what's going to happen. We're all pretending. That's what I keep hearing people say. Even here in Minnesota, people are thinking that we're going to go back to school in May because the governor has canceled school through May, but hasn't made it just basically official for the rest of the year. So that puts a mindset for a lot of people where they're just like, oh yeah, we'll be good. We're going to get back. We're going to go ahead and be able to do these things.
Nope. No one's going back to school for the rest of this school year.
The outlook of this thing is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
That we don't even know what's going to happen, not only just May or this summer.
Yeah.
But next fall, a lot of people are already making plans. They're already like, it's okay.
Oh, boy.
Next fall, we're going to go ahead and get started again, and we're going to go to whatever it might be. It's just like the beginning of this, as far as like how we were a lot of us, I would say, throughout our country, at least, Mike, we were living in a fantasy land of like, it's the flu, it's this, it's that, whatever it might be. And that was our reality for a long time. Now it's like, oh, okay, so it's, it's pretty serious. And then when people really start dying, I mean, I'm talking about the numbers that they're prognosticating, and then a certain number of people who have already lost their jobs have lost their jobs for 6, 7, 8 months down the road. What does that look like in the fall? And do we even care about like whether, in this article says many skills build up from one to another. Yes, that is a fact. That is true that we have to build, that we do, that's how we teach. We're building upon a structure there, whether it be for reading or mathematics or whatever the skills may be. But these kids are the kids that are going through a time that we've never gone through. At least I don't know how we can go back to the dark ages or whatever it might be when there was, the plagues that killed off many people. And that's kind of the only reference that we have as far as in mind. So nothing in modern times. So we really don't know what's going to happen. So as far as education is concerned, what we can do is do what we're doing as far as as educators is forget the sequence. We're going to go ahead and do the best we can with what we have. And thank God, I mean, really, this is an amazing time because we are able to do what we're doing right now as far as connecting with our kids digitally, and virtually. We're able to go ahead and do some things that we could not do even 5, 7 years ago. And that's amazing. But we know too that it's not a replacement for what was going to happen as far as in the face-to-face environment for many reasons. Number one being that we weren't ready for a complete, let's flip this whole damn thing. Many of us weren't ready. Melissa said you actually did some things to prepare yourself, and it just happened to make that perfect transition to that. I would have had that same kind of thing where I could have done this. Dave, you lived in that environment anyway, so you could do this. But many of I would say the majority of educators, especially in the elementary setting, I would say, we're not built for this. This is not, how do you do this? When that question that you were asking Mike, as far as about Cheryl, how do you do this? We don't know how to freaking do this because we would never choose to do this, And so we're placed in this time where it's freaking crazy. And in this article, I mean, that part about whether or not kids should have to repeat grades, whatever it might be, that should be the last thing that we're thinking about. It should be all of these other things that we're like, we're unsure of how we're going to turn out. It's just as humans, as far as life and death situations and illnesses, when fall comes next year. Sorry for my long answer.
No, it's a good answer. And Melissa, what do you think of this equity? Like the other big piece of this is equity, right? And so we all live in kind of different places in North America, and I think we all have kind of unique, experiences with equity. I live in a fairly large city. It's 140,000 people. And we're handing out laptops. The schools are handing out laptops to people that need them and stuff like that. But so how did you handle, your equity issues at your school in your district with, kids that needed access to devices and stuff like that? How was that handled?
Actually, I was really pleased with how our administration did it. And we're a very rural, very, very rural area. I mean, there's 3,000 people in our town, but we have kids that can travel 30, 45 minutes to school because they live so far out. Wow. So I think that's our biggest problem with equity is those students who either don't have Wi-Fi or their Wi-Fi is extremely limited because they live so far out. They don't have very strong broadband. I mean, even just checking my broadband here, it has very low, weak signal is what it's telling me, whereas you and Glenn has really strong signal.
Danger.
As a district, what we did was right away, we just sent kind of an all call out to parents saying, hey, we need you to call the school, contact the school immediately if you have limited Wi-Fi, no Wi-Fi at all. And what we ended up doing for quite a few kids, and I don't want to say unfortunately, but kind of unfortunately, we had to do paper, paper, pencil, packets, and do our best to give them similar things to what we're giving the majority of the students who have online. Our high school and middle school was already a one-to-one device. So those kids all had theirs. And I think elementary has stuck mainly with their packets, paper packets. So most of our kids are online. Some of them are a little bit limited with Wi-Fi. So say with Google slide decks, sometimes I just have to give kids a few slides at a time and not give them the whole slide deck. Or sometimes they just have to do something on a Google Doc because Parlay won't come up for them. But I think overall, we've been really lucky that we've been able to deliver the educational resources to our kids. And we have a fabulous high school secretary who will go out into the country and deliver packets to the kids once a week, pick up other stuff because she's just flippin' amazing. But reading this New York Times article, I think it is really just blaring out some of the issues that we have in education. We take technology for granted, and some of what these teachers are facing in this article of kids, parents essentially just kind of falling off the grid and having no contact with them. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's concerning academically. It's more concerning for me for social emotional health. Because that was one thing our faculty did the very first week was we made sure that each kid on our roster had a teacher contact them, either by phone, email, text, and just check in with them and do that regularly. So over a week or two, we managed to contact every kid, make sure that they're mentally healthy and doing well. I'm worried for some of these kids that the teachers have tried to contact them and they can't. And I worry, how are those kids doing mental health wise, family wise? What sufferings are they going through that we don't know about?
It's tough, man. This is complicated. And, we saw, it's funny because we've talked about inequity and inequality and like districting and like all of this stuff. It's all related. If you didn't think that the political side of education has like impact on this, you don't know what you're talking about, first off, like with all due respect. But like the way that you guys draw your lines and where school districts are and who goes to those schools and how much people make is directly now impacting the health of your schools and your school districts in their ability to educate kids who all have to stay home. Rich kids have to stay home and poor kids have to stay home too. Everyone's at home. And, so now we're really seeing, some of these inequalities, come to life in such dramatic ways that it's really scary. We're going to, like I said, link this in the show notes. It's a really interesting article with a lot of things to get you thinking about, and we'll I think we're going to do a chat on education this week, and we'll bring it up. We'll bring up some of these things. So we'll give you some homework. You got to go read this article so you have some thoughts ready. This is distance learning at its finest, folks. I want to thank Dave and Melissa for joining us. I'm glad to see you're both well and healthy and safe. That makes me very happy. That, you know, we got to do this. We got to hang out together for an hour and a bit and just kind of chat. We chat every day, but, you know, it was fun to see your faces and chat otherwise. And thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks for listening to OnEducation. My name is Glenn Irvin. My co-host is Mike Washburn. OnEducation is part of the On Podcast Media Network. You can listen to this show and many others by great educators like Monica Burns, Mike Matera, Tisha Richmond, and many more by visiting onpodcastmedia.com. Want to get in touch with us? Check out our website at oneducationpodcast.com. You can tweet us at OnEducationPod. Mike is at Mr. Washburn on Twitter, and I can be found on Twitter at IrvSpanish. You can find us on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/OnEducationPod. We're also on Instagram at OnEducationPod. Want to support OnEducation? Visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/OnEducation. There, you can get access to full videos of the podcast and so much more. If you're enjoying the show and think others would too, we would be thrilled if you shared it with them. Please leave us a rating or a review in Apple Podcasts or the Google Play Store. When you leave a rating, it gives our rankings a boost. It helps others discover the show. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Classcraft, for supporting us. Check out classcraft.com/OnEducation to learn more about them. Thanks as always for listening, stay awesome, and see you soon.